Crivello was the assistant, his post was assistant guardian for finance. And what that title means is that he was assigned to the organization AOLA to help allocate funds properly, and he was one of the key signatories for the allocations of the funds. Now, AOLA was making $500,000 a week. It's a lot of money. That's a whole lot of money. And that's pretty much what it averaged in the early 80s. But then it started dipping up and down where it was going between 300 and 500,000. And by the mid-80s, it was averaging more 350,000. Now, Al Crivello was around in the early 80s. I first met him in 1980. And we loved Al. Al bought the staff uniforms. Al made sure the staff had, believe it or not, production bonuses. Who else had that? Nobody. If we had a good week as a crew, he gave us all bonuses. $30, $40, whatever. He was just really looked out for the staff. To our knowledge at that time, we had, how much did AOLA have? It was $300 million in reserves, something like that. Somebody else might correct me on that, but it was this monstrous amount of money that was in AOLA's reserves from the late 60s and been built up and built up and built up and built up to that. So we were arrogant about it. We thought we were just the best and everything, and we were able to dress well, and we got our days off in 1980, 81. Not every week. It's every other week. That's how it worked. And Al looked after us. We got to the doctors. We paid cash for all this stuff. We had vitamins. We had good food. AOLA was known to have the best chefs of any of the organizations. And we were the organization that when one of the other ones in Los Angeles would fall behind on their bills, like especially the bills to pay for the child care center, Al Crivello made sure that we not only paid our part, we paid theirs as well. We never wanted the kids to go. He never wanted the kids to go without any of the necessities. He never wanted them to be wanting, and he never wanted the staff to be wanting. We nicknamed him Yoda. He was like 60, 65 years old. And I really don't know how dedicated he was to Scientology itself. He was just a kind, wonderful, sweet old man. And, you know, like me, nobody would give me keys anymore. I was a little older than 18 years old. And I kept losing keys. Nobody wanted to give me keys anymore because I kept losing them. And one day Al Crivello goes and he hands me this big box. What's that? He goes, open it. It's keys. Just a box of keys. He goes, I want you to go out. And this is not Scientology, okay? This is Al Crivello. I want you to go out. I want you to lose those keys. I want you to work really hard at losing those keys. I want you to lose every one of them so that they can't be found again. I'm like, oh, that sounds like fun, right? So I'm not losing keys. And I never had a problem losing keys again after that. He was just a darling. He was so cool. Al Crivello got caught in the middle of L. Ron Hubbard's taking the money out of the churches. And it's a sad story. The Guardian's Office, which is later OSA, was the vehicle by which the money filtered out of AOLA, Flag Service Organization, all of these with the big reserve accounts, filtered out of there, out of the country, and would go to L. Ron Hubbard, and would also, and I know this from personal experience, which I'll explain in a minute, go to L. Ron Hubbard and go to legal fees and go to lots of other places. Now, from 1980 to 1981, part of that year, I worked as the director of income for the Guardian's office that was over the United States, which is a strange position because I was actually AOLA crew. It's just really weird because you'd think that'd be part of USGO's crew. But no, they decided income was part of AOLA, and by attaching it, because AOLA supported the U.S. Guardian's office, and ASHO, American St. Hill Organization, supported the Guardian's office in Los Angeles. We had the U.S. one, they had the Los Angeles one. So I'm not part GO staff officially, but I'm handling their income. Stupid. One day, the director of disbursements, his name was Marvin something, he goes, I want you to see something in the transfers here. And sure enough, they had taken this reserves that was in AOLA's account, 300 million, whatever it was, and transferred a monstrous amount of money of it. That transfer I remember to be, it was like 70,000 or something. It was huge. It was in the double digits, and it was in the upper double digits. Double digits for sure. It was a huge amount, millions of dollars, you know, 34 million, whatever. Sorry, you know, back when I remembered it exactly, I wrote it down, so this is just straight memory. And it was transferred overseas. And the signatories on it weren't signatories that we recognized. These signatories weren't even Scientologists. Who were these people? Why did they have international signatories? Why were they able to transfer money out of the accounts that by policy, I thought only L. Ron Hubbard or the Executive Director International could transfer these monies? Who were these people? Well, the monies went overseas. One of the accounts was in the Cayman Islands, and the other one we didn't know where that went to. It was overseas, but there was nothing in that transfer to indicate where overseas. In AOLA's reserve account, that day he showed me that, he got in big trouble too, because apparently we were being taped. Yeah, I didn't know that either. I didn't know that office was taped. He got in big trouble. And never saw the rest of the transfers, but in essence what happened was AOLA's reserve account had been robbed, but nobody had been told. Now here's Al Crivello, sweetest old man, reporting the statistics every day. AOLA's cheering with their 300 million, whatever we have in reserves. It's not there. It hadn't been there since 1980. I knew this. 1981 is still being reported as there. 1982, it's still being reported as there. Somewhere in 82, 83, I get sprung to do the executive management course. I have autonomy, and I'm protected as a student. So I'm going, investigation time. I've chose my investigation. I'm glad I've got this drill to do. I know exactly what I'm investigating. Why are the stats still being reported? I know that money was gone since 1980. Al Crivello had never seen the statements. His senior had never seen the bank statements. They didn't have them. They didn't know all this money got taken out. Okay? No money in AOLA's reserves. Nothing. No money in flag service organizations' reserves. Okay? Other people were in positions that have testified to this too. You see the stories. No money in ASHO's. All these service organizations' reserves that have been built up since the late 50s, early 60s, gone. Just the accounts got raped. And part of that reason was to keep the Wallerstein case from knowing how much money the Church of Scientology actually had. And they hid it very well, or he would have been paid so much money. Now Al Crivello gets scapegoated for this. Al Crivello, in 1983, I think it was kicked out of the SARB.
For not knowing that his bank accounts?
It had to do with this. I don't know exactly, but it was after all the investigation came down, whatever, and they had to report the actual reserves. He gets scapegoated. And I saw when he was leaving AOLA and how sad he was. And I didn't find out till last year that within a couple weeks of being just forcibly kicked out, which was his life, and he was so loved, that he hung himself in his apartment just blocks from the complex. And again, like I said, this is part of my guilt that follows me as I started that investigation, but it had nothing to do with him. The whole thing was done over his head. Rest in peace, Crivello, you know.